Hello, welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live discussion. We're here to talk about the two-part, 2-hour season finale of Season 3 of The Expanse, Congregation and Abaddon's Gate. And in the tradition of every season finale of The Expanse, it's always named after the book that it's adapted from. So Abaddon's Gate finale is also the name of the third book. But for the first time, the end of the season is the end of the book, which is interesting. But anyway, I'm joined here by Akton Tamko and Willi to talk about this episode. Akton, thank you so much for joining.
Of course. Always good to be here talking about The Expanse. I look forward to talking about this big two-part finale.
Yeah, and Willi, thank you so much for being here as well.
Thank you for having me as always. This was an exciting trip and can't wait to talk about it.
Cool. So let's go ahead and jump in our overall feelings for the episode. Now, I know a lot of people don't like it when I bring up the book, and sometimes maybe I do bring them up a bit too much. And when I did my review for this episode, I tried really not to when talking about this episode because there's a lot of good things I loved about this episode. Like there were some great character moments, which I'm sure we'll get into, but the Amos and Anna stuff I absolutely loved. There's some really great action scenes. Like it was really tense with the conflict between Holden and Ashford. Absolutely loved that as well. And the ending montage, I have to call that out in particular. That was my favorite. The Expanse have done a lot of montages like that. That was probably my favorite one the show has done yet. And I thought that ending scene was really epic and awesome. So I gave this episode 9 out of 10. I'm sticking by that. I overall love this episode, but it's impossible for me to think about this episode without thinking about in terms of how it was adapted for the books. Because for me, this was not a very good adaptation because the third book is one of my favorite books. The thing I like about the third book the most is the second half of it. And these two episodes covered the entire second half of the third book, which is crazy it's unprecedented for The Expanse because they've never gone through material that fast. Like they did book 1, they did in 15 episodes. Book 2, they did in 14 episodes. And then book 3, they did in 7 episodes. And of those 7, the first 5 was the first half, and then 2 for the second half. So I can't help but feel that it was really rushed and that we missed a lot of basically what was my favorite story. So I can't help but dwell over a lot of the things we missed. And also, I think some of the character stories didn't work because of this rushed feeling, particularly with Melba, which I'm sure we'll get into shortly. But I'm really curious, have people who don't have that sort of hindrance of having read the books, what you guys have thought of this episode. So let's start with you, Akton. What were your thoughts on this episode?
Okay, I love this episode, or these. We'll just call it an episode, even though technically it's 2. I was riveted. I was on the edge of my seat. I love the fact, as you pointed out in your review, that there were 2 different opposing factions, but neither of them is. I mean, one of them is right, one of them is wrong, but they're both doing what they feel is going to save humanity. So I loved all that. It was really intense. Had me on the edge of my seat. Then the ending came, and I didn't like how it was resolved. We can get into this more when we get more and more specifics, but to me, the Melba thing came absolutely out of nowhere. Like, what? I mean, they kind of hinted at it. And then I watched your review about the books, and it sounds like they probably prepared you a lot more for it in the books. And maybe we can get into this later more too, but I know I told you, Mark, in an email exchange that we had, that I really feel strongly that any show, including Game of Thrones, that adapts books really should follow the 1 book per season model. That they could have cut out a lot of crap from the first season, and they might have had to have, instead of 10 episodes, 13 or 14 episodes or something, but have the first book end at season 1, book 2, season 2, book 3, season 3, and then I wouldn't have had the issues that I had, where it felt jarring. All of a sudden, we're in a whole different story, and it's time jump, and you wouldn't have had the issues you had with it being all rushed because they could have taken more time. So that's what. Hopefully, from here on out, they'll just do one book per season. Hopefully, they've learned their lesson. But that's kind of my takeaway from this: is they should have done one book per season. And then my issue with the ending probably may not have been a case, because to me that was like, what the hell? Like, was she suddenly all of a sudden out of nowhere? I mean, they kind of built it up a tiny bit, but not enough for my tastes. So that was my issue. Though overall, I still love the episode, because the entire time I'm like, I'm on the edge of my seat. I was really engaged in this whole, Ashford versus Holden story and the different factions. So loved it. A little less happy with the ending, but still overall, I have a positive feeling about the episode.
Cool. Don, your thoughts on the episode?
Good finale to the season. Very action packed, and no matter what Cardinal Doomsday says, I'm still not forgiving Melba Toast for all of her damn tomfoolery and shenanigans. Yeah, man.
But Don, she saved the entire human race.
Yeah, whatevs, man. Okay, but no, and it was Holden that saved the entire human race. But I don't know. It was a little weird with him being in the cell, talking to Miller, and it was like we'll get into that later. But yeah, look, I didn't really have big issues with it, but maybe for you, Mark, who's read the books, who knows more about Melba's storyline, can be a little more forgiving than I can. I'm sorry, I'm just not into forgiving mass murderers.
But did you think her storyline worked in this episode, or did you have some of the same issues that me and Apkin had with it?
Yeah, it did seem a little rushed, because she starts off still trying to kill people. She does try to kill Holden. She almost oh man, why am I forgetting her name? Damn it.
Anna?
Anna? No. But the mechanic.
Naomi?
Yes. She almost kills Naomi. So like I'm sorry, like, yeah, you're still running around on Rampage. I'm like, your father was a piece of shit, okay? I'm sorry that she grew up with a piece of shit father like that, but he was still a piece of shit, and you're trying to, get revenge for his shittiness.
Also, another thing that kind of bothered me about this episode, which is probably unique again to those who have read the books, is that when I compare again to the books, this, as I said in my review, this is like Nerf football. Like the books were so much. It was like a huge civil war, and see, that's probably why it was my favorite book, my favorite section of the book, because I talked about this when we got into the Southern Admiral win scenes earlier this season, that I love a big mutiny story, and the book, that's what it was. It was like back and forth. Ashford had command, and then the other people had command, and then it turned into this huge civil war. Whereas here is just like it was just Holden and a few others going off to do this thing behind their backs, and none of the other Belters seemed to back their actual captain, which was Drummer, which annoyed me. And so it seemed, I don't know, for me it seemed kind of downplay. And plus, it's also a thing kind of like what Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead have become, where they're too afraid to kill off main characters. Like, I had a huge issue with Ashford surviving. Like, I did not like that at all. Not just because he died in the books, but just because, like, I thought it would have been better for what they had established in the show. Drummer, I'm glad she's alive, but I thought that little fake out where, you know, she was meant to die, but the elevator comes inside. But anyway, these are specifics we can get into later. But any thoughts, having not read the books?
But I do agree with you. I did agree with you on her going to give him a bottle of wine or whatever that was, or bottle of liquor or something. Really? I mean, he just tried to have you killed. He just tried to kill Holden and Naomi when they were unarmed. I mean, like, you're bringing him a bottle of wine? I don't know. Like, I'm definitely with you on that. I didn't think about, because I haven't read the books, I didn't think about, well, he should have been killed. But once you said it in your review, I was like, yeah, he probably should have been. That does, even without having read the books, that does actually make a lot more sense than her bringing him a bottle of wine. Oh, hey, you tried to kill me, and you tried to kill my friends who were unarmed, but hey, it's all good now. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that was a bit much for me as well.
Listen, I just like to say, forgiving evil motherfuckers is a detriment to all humanity. So yeah, I not been saying consistently that Ashford is an evil, irredeemable motherfucker. So you know, I just like to put that out there.
That typically when you do these, it's only one the characters interact in mix episodes. Can't format with this episode, so instead, let's go in order of seeing.
What I think Mark.
Okay, it's not just me seeing Mark breaking up. Are you seeing that too, Don? Mark, you're breaking up.
Yeah, Mark just went like. Yeah, you went full belter on us for a second.
all right.
Yeah, you were like,
am I okay now?
That's kind of.
Then hold on. If I'm still.
Yeah. Well, you're frozen now. Colonel Doomsday says, roboting Mark. Iron Throne says there's some roboto action on the stream.
Can you hear it back?
No. I mean, I heard you say that, but you're still, like, slow. You're still, messed up.
All right. Hold on one second. Technical issues are fun. Let me try deleting that. Okay, am I coming in clear now? Can you hear me talking?
I can hear you talking, yeah. The screen is a little pixely, but it seems better, so we'll try it. Okay.
All right. Yeah, do let me know if I break up again. I might have to just exit out and come out again. Okay, so I was saying at the start of the episode, I wanted to get into the thing with Anna and Amos and their relationship and just talk about that whole thing now, because at the start of the episode we get a scene with Amos trying to kill Melba, and Anna like sort of holds him back and prevents him from doing it, and from then we see these two sort of connect, and Amos actually seems to take a liking to Anna. In my review I talked about how it was almost like a replacement for Prax, but they have a different sort of dynamic where Anna is more of helping Amos than before Amos was the one helping Prax. So what did you guys, I love this. I thought it really worked. I think the show is really hitting it out of the park when teaming Amos up with these other guest stars. So Don, what were your thoughts on this one?
You know what? I wasn't sure what to make of it at first because, she's trying to help people who are injured, and, Amos and Alex come on, and Alex is like, oh yeah, I gotta, take care. I forgot what it was that he had to take care of. And you see Amos look over at Anna, and I'm just like, I hope he realizes pretty quickly that she's not into dudes. Um, so it was just kind of weird because I'm trying to figure out like what was Amos like what was his fascination with her, and so when Melba is trying to attack or whatever, and they have her in the brig, and he's like, hey, you know what? Let me just put her down. Uh, you know, the fact that she was able to talk him out of it was kind of interesting because you have someone who's blatantly trying to kill his captain, and we know how much Amos actually respects Holden and likes Holden. So it was just kind of a thing where, like, how was she able to have this effect on him, and was she able to tap into something that he thought he had lost a long time ago? Because normally she would have been sitting in that chair, uh, waiting for her execution. Because any other time, I could see Amos blowing her all across the wall, but Anna was somehow able to reason with him on a deeper level. So that was pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, and I really really love this combination of these two characters too, and I kind of get the sense that like subconsciously Amos kind of wants to be helped in some way, like that's why he's kind of reaching out to Anna. I never got the sense that it was ever romantic in any way. That he like kind of saw Anna as this person that probably could help him, whether it was conscious or not. But I absolutely love this. I love that interaction. The little scene that they have as Alex is helping Monica get the thing set up there, and they're having this little conversation, and how it ends with Anna basically telling him, "You don't have to carry this burden anymore. It's okay." And Amos's response was like very kind of typical Amos. Like he's not able to express emotion. Like he has them inside him, but he is not good. He's never going to say, "Oh, like give me a hug," and you're right, the burden is released from me. Like he's not going to do that. His response was very typical Amos, which was, "Hey, I will never let anybody hurt you," because that's the only way he knows how to respond. But I kind of reading between the lines, I kind of took that as she reached him, like that she touched him. Yeah, I thought it was really great, and it's something again maybe would have been even better if they had had more time to develop it. If they, again, not to rehash this, but if they did a whole full season of book 3. But even though they just kind of threw this in there in these last 2 episodes, it still worked, which actually surprised me. I was actually like surprised. Wow, this works really well, even though they just kind of came out of nowhere for these last 2 episodes. It still worked really well. This dynamic between these 2 characters, honestly, probably one of the highlights of the episode for me.
Yeah, and I definitely agree, but I do definitely agree with you saying that it would have been nice if they had more episodes with them together, because as it is, it's only these 2 episodes. And as you can imagine, in the books there was a lot longer to flesh out Anna with the Rocinante crew. And so, to be honest, part of it, like the way Amos kept hanging around Anna, part of it felt just a tad bit forced to me. But as you say, there's like really good reasons showing to. It goes to show that how she's the type, and that her main sort of gift or ability or skill is to be able to comfort people. And I think that's sort of a way that
you're breaking up again, Mark.
Experienced before.
You were breaking up again. I got most of that, but you were breaking up during it.
All right, I'm out and come back in.
All right. All right.
Hopefully, it doesn't stop the stream. Yeah. Hopefully, it doesn't stop the stream because a lot of times that happens. You know what? It's kind of funny though, because even for these 2 episodes, though, even though it was only these 2 episodes where we got the interactions with Anna and Amos, for some reason to me, it felt a lot longer. It felt like they had known each other for a much longer time, or I don't know. It seemed like the relationship was kind of developed over these 2 episodes, and to me, it seemed pretty believable. But again, I'm still wondering what made Amos kind of approach her to begin with. That's the only issue I have, because it kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere. Like, oh, he steps on that. Pretty lady. Let me go see if I can help her with some things, and I'm like, that doesn't really seem like Amos's style. So it was, that was the only thing that threw me off a bit.
Yeah, and I just, and this is my interpretation, but again, I just saw it as like somehow subconsciously, like he knew that this is a person that kind of can help him with his issues, but he doesn't know how to express that. So that was how I read it, but who knows? I mean, who knows? But I also agree that they did it really well for only 2 episodes. It did feel fully developed, fully fleshed out. So for only having it happen in 2 episodes, they did a great job with this relationship. Mark, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me now? Yeah, can you hear me now?
I think we can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, so I definitely think I agree with you that their relationship was one of the better aspects of the episode, but I still feel that if they did use more time to flesh this out, maybe like what Don was saying, maybe it would feel a bit more natural. But that being said, I still think it really worked. Like it was definitely one of the strong points. Cool. So let's go ahead and talk about like a bit shortly after, at the start of the episode, they're finding out that everyone's going to the Behemoth. They basically are saying like all the injured and medical personnel, which as we see like a scene on the Thomas Prince, it's like a ghost ship. So injured and medical personnel ends up being like almost everyone, because like a third of the people got injured, and then a lot of the other people are looking after those who got injured. So pretty much everyone's heading over to the Behemoth, and on the other ships is just like a skeleton crew left behind. And I like how on the Rusnate, Naomi wants to go over looking for Holden because he saw that the Martians took him there, and she wants Alex to stay behind, but he's like, no, I refuse. I just got the family back, so we're sticking together. I thought that was a really heartfelt moment. So the Rusnate crew all go over to the Behemoth, and we get that great scene. Of course, we've seen they established that the Behemoth guys aren't letting people bring their weapons on board, and Amos doesn't want to leave his, and Naomi has to talk him out of it. But then as soon as he gives up his weapons, they tell Naomi, "Oh, you're under arrest for desertion." He's like, "I'm going to need my gun back now," which I love. That was such a great moment. But anyway, yeah, your thoughts on this coming together, the congregation on the Behemoth?
Yeah, I love that scene too. I laughed. I cracked up laughing. That's great. Great Amos scene. But yeah, actually at first when they were like, oh, the family's going to get back, we want the whole family to go. I thought they just meant the 3 of them. So I was like, they're going to leave Anna alone with Melba on the Rosinante? So is the Rosinante just on automatic pilot? It's just floating around, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, no, that was all really cool. And Naomi in that scene, she's like, yeah, I was expecting this. I got it under control. It's fine. And it was. I mean, she probably knew Ashford was going to ask her to make repairs or whatever. I mean, she knows Ashford somewhat. So, it was cool. That whole scene was really cool. The way that she was able to, don't worry, Amos, I got this taken care of. It's fine. And Amos trusts her. So, but yeah, the whole thing, and I was glad that they all went there. But as you pointed out in your review, Mark, they might have mentioned something. Melba, this person, actually she's the daughter of Jules Pierre Mal. She wants revenge on Holden. She blew up that ship and blamed it on Holden. She's a psychotic motherfucker. Like, they might have mentioned some of those things. I don't know, but so that was probably my only beef with that scene when they came aboard. But otherwise, I absolutely loved it, including especially the Amos line there.
Listen, Amos is the MVP of the Rocinante. He's the guy kicking ass, taking names, not taking shit from anybody, and I love him for that. Yeah, it was kind of interesting that they brought Melba on, and it was just like, she's a prisoner and she's got the medical thing on her arm. Make sure that you don't take it off, and you can take her downstairs to the brig, and that was about it. And especially for the fact that well, no, you know what? They didn't know that Holden was down there specifically as a prisoner. So, but yeah, that was a little weird that they didn't say, hey, look, terrorist here, this one, she's, killing people left, right, and center. So, I don't know, man. But, Amos with the, I'm going to need my gun back now. Oh, that was classic. And you know what, though? I want that kid to die. I forget what the hell that kid's name is.
Tiago.
I want him to die. That treacherous bastard. Yes, yes, he deserves to die, and I hope he burns in hell.
Yeah, I agree. That kid should have died a long time ago. I can't believe they brought him back, honestly. I just hate that kid.
And he engages in more fuckery later on. So, yeah, which I'm pretty sure we'll get to. But, I had no issues with the scene other than what you guys pointed out about them not divulging the whole thing with Melba and the reason why she was their prisoner. Well,
I think they should have touched more on, because, well, again, in the novels, that everyone knew Melba was the one who blew up the Sun Un, and so that's why they left alone the Rocinante crew, and Holden, they were focused more on the stuff that happened on the station. But here, like, they didn't make that clear, so it seemed like they just all of a sudden abandoned the Rocinante, because they, at this point, they still should, like, as soon as they come on board, like, okay, you're under arrest for destroying the Sun Un, because they still don't know. And it seems like they didn't make that clear that, no, this is the person who did it. And if Melba was the one who blew up the ship, then they would treat her a bit more seriously and not just be like, okay, I'll take care of it. So that whole thing, these all seem symptoms of rushing the story to me, personally. Any thoughts on that, Akton, or you didn't?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say. I agree. I mean, that does seem like symptoms of rushing the story, but don't have anything to add to that. I think you said it well.
Cool. All right, so we'll get a couple scenes with this guy who I previously called the captain of the Thomas Prince, but apparently he's not. He's just a scientist guy. So I got that one wrong. His name was Colvord or something. And he comes up with this plan to, try to use the Bohemia's beam to communicate to the outside world. And when that doesn't work, he comes up with another plan to blow up a ship to try to free all the ships. And it turns out that it doesn't work, and it actually causes the station to think of them as a threat. Ashford, the genius he is, with the plan
breaking
to
up.
destroy. the ring.
You were breaking up again.
Okay. Now, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm still.
Yeah, now you're all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the most of it. I got the gist of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I just started talking about how Ashford comes up with the plan to destroy the ring, and that, of course, is a dumb idea. But from his perspective, it's the right thing to do. And it's funny how he twists what Holden had told him earlier. That thing about the vision he saw about the ring destroying worlds. He's like, shit, that's what they're going to do to our world. But yet he still considers Holden insane, which again, we know that is not the smart move to do. So yeah. So any thoughts on this whole storyline here?
Yeah. I was also confused about that one guy. I thought he was the captain too. I guess he's some kind of scientist. I was wondering why he wasn't wearing a uniform before. Now it makes sense. But so the guy who actually was in charge. This is a little side note, but can somebody please tell me where I recognize that actor? He looks extremely familiar, and I can't place it. Does anybody know why I might have seen him?
I didn't recognize him at all.
Oh,
so I don't know.
I mean, he looks kind of similar to the guy in Westworld who was also in Lost, the Shogun World dude, but I know it's not the same actor. But I don't think that's it. I think I know this particular actor from somewhere, and I can't place it. But anyways, that's a sidetrack. As for this whole scene, actually watching this, it all kind of made sense. It was kind of logical. It was like, well, yeah, this is what they need to do. I mean, until you get Holden's story, and then you're like, okay, well, they're probably wrong, and Holden is probably right because he's got a connection there. He's got Miller. But at first, to me, like, the whole thing made sense. Of course, you knew that's not what was going to happen because the plan involved sacrificing themselves, which that's the end of the show. You don't have to worry about renewing season 4 because everybody's dead. So that's not going to happen. But at the time, to me, the plan made sense until you get the other plan from Holden, and then you're like, okay, these guys are crazy. But I thought it was a pretty logical thing. So yeah, all of that was interesting, and it was really interesting. The other interesting part about this is you're seeing the Earth leader, Mars leader, and Martian leader, and the Belt leader all kind of working together as a team, which has never happened on this show. And there's a few comments here and there. Did you ever think we'd be working together with Inners or all those kinds of things? So at first it all seemed really well and good and nice because look at these three different factions are always fighting, are working together, and they have this plan that kind of makes sense. So isn't it until a little later when you get Holden's opposing plan, where you realize, okay, they're totally wrong and Holden's got it in the right. But no, I found the whole thing fascinating, the whole thing interesting.
I just want to interject real quick. The actor you're referring to, I looked him up while you're talking. His name is Sean Beck, if that's how you pronounce it. And he hasn't really been on anything I think you've seen. So his main other credits are like the Taken TV show, Killjoys, The Art of War, Lost Girl. So I'm not sure if you have seen this guy before.
Maybe he just reminds me a lot of the guy in Westworld, like a younger version of the guy who was on Westworld. So maybe that's all it was. But I thought I recognized him.
Yeah. Anyway, Don, your thoughts on this?
I could kind of see from the beginning that their plan was folly, and it was like, okay, you came into this place, basically trying to destroy the proto-molecule. Proto-molecule already ripped apart one Marine and scattered him all over the inner base. It slowed down people like the speed limit. It basically almost decimated all of these ships that were coming in, or at least the people on the ships that were coming in. You know, and you would figure if this thing is powerful enough to stop you from launching attacks, maybe you might want to stop attacking it. You know, and the whole thing about, all right, yeah, let's see if we can detonate a bomb to see if that'll get us free. It was like, what are you people not understanding about your weapons won't fucking work? You know, so when Holden is like, hey, yeah, end everything. I mean, I can kind of see why they were thinking, all right, well, we have to make a last ditch effort to destroy it. But when Anna starts with the broadcast, when Anna starts with the broadcast, they're all like, no, we can't let anybody hear this, because then they might not be into our warmongering. And it's just like, the warmongering is not working. What are you not understanding about? We shoot pew pew pew, and the lasers, they don't go anywhere. We detonate a bomb, the bomb just stays there, and it's just like, you're not understanding about the fact that this is something that is way more powerful than you, and is not going to be taking any of your shit.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Particularly like with the scene we got in the previous episode where the Martian Marine throws a grenade at the molecule, and they respond by ripping him apart. So it seemed obvious to me that any aggressive moves was not the way to go, that you want to try to appear less of a threat to it. And so I do actually, I'm not sure if I was ever on board with this plan that Ashford had. It seemed like, because it was all about aggression, about pushing things further. But I guess from his perspective, like, he didn't think there was a way to appease it and seem non-threatening to it. He think there was going to be a threat regardless, so they had to get one up. But it's that sort of military mindset that had them thinking. And I know all your money in the chat mentioned early on that it was really surreal seeing the Martian admiral defer to the belted pirate. And that was interesting, but it also showed how, like, not just the Martin, but the UNN guy as well, the actor we just talked about, but they all saw the value in working together, and it was his ship, so they respected him out of that, which I liked. And I did think that spoke well of these characters and how they were actually well-intentioned. But their problem, especially the Martian one, is that they have that military mindset. So that's why they're all on board with Ashford's take on it, is we have to overpower it, which is not actually the way to go. And maybe if there were some more civilian or politicians in charge, like if Avasorella was there, she would be able to speak reason. But I think it was the downside of having these military-minded people in charge. They just think more power, more power.
Well, I mean, but it was a very noble thing to do, because we're going to sacrifice ourselves. The Martian leader says nobody on the outside world is ever going to know what we did, so it's not for glory or anything. We're going to sacrifice ourselves to save the entire solar system. And that's just the way that they thought. They thought we need to destroy this thing so that it doesn't, before it destroys the whole solar system. And yes, you're right. That's a very military mindset, that we need to destroy it first. And I'm not sure, like, if Ashford was aware of the detail of the Martian person throwing the grenade. I don't think that they really analyzed that very well. So. Yeah, I mean, I definitely understood where they were coming from. Like, we have to save humanity. We'll sacrifice ourselves. Nobody's going to know the sacrifice that we made. But it was very noble. Like, it's like, well, we're doing this not for glory or fame or for ourselves or anything like that. We're going to sacrifice ourselves to save all of humanity. So that's kind of why, it seemed like a pretty noble plan to me, until you get Holden's opposing plan, which actually made a hell of a lot more sense. And all the scenes Don brought up happened later after we get Holden's plan, and I'm totally on board with Holden at that point in the episode. But when they first brought it up, it seemed like a very noble sacrifice that they were proposing to do. But yes, it was definitely a very military mindset that we have to kill it before it kills us. So my problem more with them is not that they came up with that plan, but that the fact that they wouldn't defer from it, they wouldn't let go of it, they wouldn't listen to reason, they wouldn't listen to Holden. They're just gung ho on this plan or bust. That was more of my issue than the plan. The initial planning of it seemed reasonable at the time, but then once a more peaceful alternative was offered, then they were saying, no, we have to kill. and that's where the problem comes in.
I like what all your money in the chat say, that I thought Ashford's reason was killing. Someone will eventually trip the switch. They're going to have to arm the hell out of the entrance to prevent that, which is a good. And I like how it's a good point Ashford brought up. Well, it's in our nature. We're going to keep coming back regardless, and it's just going to endanger the entire human race. So we need to end this now, so that nobody comes here and fucks shit up, and more people don't have to go through what we're going through. So I totally agree with what you're saying about how their intentions are noble. Like, they're willing to sacrifice themselves to save the entire human race. So their intentions are good. It's maybe their thought process I have more of an issue with, even at this stage.
I mean, what is that about the road to hell being paved with good intentions? And the other thing about the definition of insanity being repeating the same thing over and over, thinking you're going to get a different result. You've already tried attacking multiple times at this point, and you're just like, oh, we just haven't attacked big enough. It's like, oh, no. The ships, the soldiers, whatever it is, it's not that this is the wrong thing. It's just that we haven't been doing it big enough for it to work. And that was my big issue with their thought process, is like, this thing is obviously way more powerful than you can possibly imagine, and yet you're still like, but do we have a bigger bat? It's like, yeah, can we, do we have a Moab we can throw at it? And it's just like, you guys just aren't getting it, are you? You're not trying to get it. Like, I understand the whole thing about, yeah, we don't want more people to come looking for us and falling into the trap too, but I don't know, maybe try communicating, maybe see if there's something else that could possibly be done. And I was like, no, these pebbles aren't working enough. The slingshots didn't work. We need a ballista. We need a catapult. And it's just like, it's not working. Try something different. For the love of God, please try something different.
Well, they never actually really attacked it, though. Like, there was the one guy who threw the grenade, but like I said, Ashford probably didn't know about that. And the thing that they blew up wasn't an attack. It was just kind of a test to see what would happen. I think that their mistake was in, as you pointed out, like, underestimating it, like thinking that not realizing that it is more powerful than they can possibly imagine. They didn't know that. Like, that didn't occur to them. They thought that they could do something to affect it. But as Holden points out later, all they're going to do is piss it off and get themselves killed. They actually can't destroy it. So that was another huge mistake of theirs, like thinking that it's kind of arrogant, really, thinking that they have the power to affect this thing, which clearly they did not.
I mean, well, real quick, I just wanted to say, like, all right, so Bobby came back. Because remember, Bobby came onto the ship before they decided, okay, let's try the whole thing with detonating the ship with the nuke on it. You would figure if she just came back from there, hey, maybe try to get some intel on what the hell just happened while Holden was down there. What happened? How were you guys able to get back here? Because remember, Bobby knew about the new speed limit that the proto-molecule had set. So it's like, well, if this thing is setting new speed limits every time there's even the smallest attack, I'm just saying, I don't understand why you don't debrief Bobby and the other Marines about this whole thing to try to get more intel before you decide, oh, we're just going to throw a bigger bomb at it.
It's because Bobby is not in a position of authority, so they don't give a shit what she has to think. She's like, if I want your opinion, I'll tell you what it is, because that's kind of how the superiors seem to treat her. So that's why I think that part of it is.
Well, I wanted to point out something in the chat real quick. Iron Trone says maybe they shouldn't have had all their ships get into the ring before waiting for someone to actually come out of the ring. That's going back a little ways, but yeah, I mean, everybody was in such a hurry, and they were it was almost like competitive, like, oh, we can't have the Martians being the only ones, or we can't have the Belters being the only, like, we have to be, like, they each did, the Belters, and no, the Belt, no, was that the whole thing?
Well, yeah, and whatever. And whose whose fault was that? That was all Melba Toast, because she was the one who sent that had that damn message transmitted, and that's what made everyone rush to the damn ring. So yeah,
all right, well, yeah. But anyway, we're getting a bit far off. I did want to comment on something you said earlier, Apkin, about the how they underestimate the protomolecule, which actually is a theme throughout the show, and you've talked about this before. Through the entire show, everyone's being like, "Oh, I'm going to use the protomolecule as an awesome weapon, and I'm going to have all this power." Whenever they do, it just is a backfiring and fucking them and killing everyone. And so I think this is actually continuing on this theme that these people, and this is something that Holden gets, and no one else seems to be able to get this, is that this is way more powerful. And if you try to use it, if you try to overpower it, it's just going to come back and bite you. And I think it's what you said. It is arrogance. It shows the human arrogance side of it, and how the humanity thinks that they're the top and they're these knees, and they can't accept that there's something that's way above them, and to accept that it's beyond their control.
And what's scary to me is the ending. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but it reminds me of kind of Voyager with the Borg, and then they meet what was the species? What were they? 241 or
847.
847. Yeah. Or like we thought the Borg was the most powerful ones, but these guys are beating the shit out of the Borg. The people who created the protomolecule were destroyed by somebody else. So there's somebody else even more powerful out there. So that's a scary thought to me. That like as powerful as this is, like, and the humans are just nothing compared to this. They're flies, they're ants, they're bugs, they're nothing compared to this thing, and yet there's something else out there that destroyed the people who made this protomolecule. So that's really fascinating and really scary to me.
Cool. Well, anyway, I want to get back to the sequence of episodes. So let's move on to the events where we see Naomi meet up with Drummer after she agrees to fix the ship, which was a nice reunion, seeing these two back together. And she helps Drummer come up with this little mechanical crutch or whatever that lets her walk, which is pretty cool. And so Drummer, true to her word, takes her down to see Holden, and we get another really nice reunion between Naomi and Holden, which I thought really worked. It was really gratifying to see these two characters together. And of course, she's all on board to help. Like, she never even questions that Holden is talking to Miller and is all on board to help him. And it was such a funny scene because Holden said he hadn't got a chance to talk to Miller because he needs to be alone, and he hasn't been left alone yet. So they leave him alone, but they watch him on the camera, and it was such a funny scene. And I love how they did this, because usually all of his conversations with Miller, we see Miller, but we see from other people's perspective. It was just Holden talking to himself. And I just love like Drummer's reaction. It's like, I don't know what you see in this guy. Like, he's just crazy talking to himself. And then you even get Melba sort of eavesdropping and being like, what the hell is going on here? But then, and you can infer from this conversation what Miller is saying, that he's basically saying, hey, your people blew up this ship. Why the hell did you do that? That just pissed the station off more. And you hear Holden's, response saying, I don't know. I've been trapped in here. How do I know why the hell they did that? So that was interesting. And of course, Miller comes up with the big plan that they need to deactivate all the ships. And so when Drummer tells Ashford about this, he's like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds great. Why don't you come up here and we can talk about it face to face? So it's obvious that he was not going to listen to this plan at all. So they were smart enough to read between the lines and be like, all right, fuck this. We need to go do it ourselves. And that guard was like willing to help them. So they all charge off to the engine room, and then they enlisted Amos and Alex to try to convince everyone else to deactivate their engines or the reactors. And it's funny that the first thing Amos does is think of Anna. She would be the perfect person to convince people not to do this. So this was all really exciting setup. Oh, I loved it. So any thoughts on these scenes, Atkin?
Yeah, this was all really good setup, really building up the tension. Yeah, and I absolutely loved how Ashford was like, yeah, come on down, and they were like, I don't think so. Let's. I love Drummer's reaction to that. Yeah, and these were all really good scenes for building up the tension for what was to come later. It worked really well. I don't know that I have a whole lot else to say about this. It was just good tension building scenes. Don?
Treason! Treason! Here you have your captain. You're the one talking about, oh, no, I'm not trying to take over. No. And then the first thing he says is, oh, you're not in charge anymore. Treason! Told you guys, Ashford was a treacherous bastard. And yeah, this proved it for me. He tried to look altruistic earlier with the whole thing of trying to save the captain, but no, it was just to get her the fuck out of the way. That's all it was. It's like, oh, well, look, I didn't kill her, so I mean, hey, look, I'm not the bad guy. I told you I wasn't gonna kill, but no. Here you have the captain giving you an order, and you're like, nope, it's not gonna happen. Oh, and by the way, can we send a squad to kill her and her friends, please? And luckily she recognized that that's what was going on, because had she even thought about trusting him, we might be looking at a much different story. So I'm glad that Drummer still had people on her side, and I'm glad that she had the presence of mind to say, okay, you know what, we're getting the fuck out of here, and we're going to execute Holden's plan so that we don't all get fucking slaughtered. So, great scene in my opinion. But yeah, Ashford, treasonous, treacherous bastard.
I gotta partially disagree with some of what you said there. Is that I think Ashford is definitely power hungry, there's no doubt about that. But I do think he was sincere. Like when he told Naomi earlier that, oh, I saved her life, and she saved my life, and then I saved her life. I think he genuinely has respect for her. And when she first heard that she was back on her feet, she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're okay," blah blah. But it's when she starts saying, "Oh, I talked to Holden, and we think that we should do this other plan, not your plan." I think that's when he started to become a bit of a, well, no, fuck, I'm, because he's so set in his way. He's already like decided to do this plan, and just because his rightful captain comes up, he's gonna be like, "No, fuck that." And plus, he's power hungry. He's not gonna want to give up that power. And I think it was very right of Drummer to recognize that. But I think he did have good intention to her to begin with and good feelings about her. He just, when she started to go against him, that's when he sort of changed his mind.
And once he got that taste of power, once he was in charge, and then she comes, like, he wanted to keep that. And he was like, "Oh, well, she's back now, and she wants to question my authority." No, fuck that. Like, once he's already there, like, he doesn't want to give that up. And he, like you said, he's set in his ways. He wants to do what he's already decided to do. But earlier on in these episodes, I still think he was genuine. I still believe he really meant it when he went into work together with Drummer, and he was all about the Belters being together above everything else. I still think he was sincere. I still don't think he was always intending to be a traitorous bastard. But I think that when it comes down to it, once he had that power, he is power hungry, and it was hard for him to let go of that. It was hard for him to defer to Drummer, who has a different opinion. At that point, it was too late. But I think it's just it's a complicated issue. It's a complex character, which is why I kind of loved it. It's not black and white. It's not just he's a traitorous bastard and he's always been a traitorous bastard and it's always been his plan. It's a lot. There's more shades of gray in it, I think, and that's why I actually really like the story.
I mean, look, I see what you're saying, but I mean, look, here he had an opportunity to prove Drummer wrong, because remember, Drummer had been saying for a while, like, "Hey, yeah, I'm just waiting for the knife. You know, I'm waiting for you to stick the knife in my back." He had the chance to prove that he wasn't that guy, that he really respected the chain of command, that he really respected her, and that it really was her ship and her crew. And when he got the opportunity to slow down and say, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, let me prove that I'm not about, being power hungry, and that, yeah, this wasn't my plan to take over all along." He failed. And look, call it what you want, but I saw this coming from a mile away, and not saying in terms of like that it's sloppy writing or anything, but it's like, evil looking guy is evil, obvious. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting him to do anything different. And so, fuck Ashford.
Well, I still think it's more complicated than that, but we'll agree to disagree.
I can kind of see your point, because when they even not, leaving aside what I know about the books, when that first episode that they introduced Ashford, to me, it was kind of obvious that they're introducing the next big villain. But again, but I do agree with the Apkin that it's not just, he's not a must-twirling villain. It's a lot more complicated. His intentions are pure, and you can get his motivations, and those are the best villains, in my opinion. It's the ones that you can see that they think they're the hero, and you can see why they think that way. So that's why I think this character really works. But an issue I did have with this is when Drummer realized that Ashford was going to try to supplant her authority and not listen to her. I didn't know why she didn't just go, "Okay, you're relieved. I'm taking command," and ordered the other people on the bridge. "I'm your captain. Put Ashford under arrest." Maybe she didn't think that would work. Maybe he had too many of his guys there. I don't know. And she didn't want to cause like a fight or anything. But it still got to me like, there's only like that one guy, and he had like a couple of friends who, like one other girl who helped him take the reactor control. It seems like she could have. Why don't you gather a hell of a lot more support and just try to retake the bridge and be like, just say like he's not in command. I'm your rightful captain. I don't know. That part bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder, did she think that wouldn't work? Did she think that he had too much support? Yeah, I wondered about that too. Like, it almost seemed like she was the rebel going behind his back, and she was the mutineer, but she's the captain. So, yeah. So that's the only thing that I could think, that she must have thought that he had too much support, because otherwise, why wouldn't she just make an announcement? All ship, everybody on the Behemoth, I am your captain. Please, I order you to place Ashford under arrest. I am the captain. Like, why did she not do that? And the only thing I could come up with is she was afraid he had too much support. So I don't know. And if he didn't, then I don't know why the hell she wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that assertion as well. Yeah, you got to think about it. Here she is. I mean, look, he's already made a ton of decisions that people have already followed, and I think at that point she's probably thinking, okay, well, not only does he have the Behemoth crew kind of on his side, he also has the Inners on his side as well. So it's one of those things where, she's probably thinking to herself, or at least this is, what I would be thinking, is that, this is just not going to work, me saying I am the captain, because he just has too many different factions on his side. It's not even just the crew of the ship at this point. It's also, the Martians and people from Earth. So it might have,
yeah, but she could go to the Martians and people of Earth and just be like, I'm at you, because the only reason they're respecting Astro is because he's the captain of the ship they're on. She could go there and be like, actually, I'm the captain, so this is what we're going to do. And she could try to form alliances with them directly and be like, look, you have no right to support the mutineer above me because I'm the captain of the ship. But I don't know. I do kind of see why she didn't do this, though, because it could, even if Ashford didn't have overwhelming support, let's just say he had equal support, then that would create like basically a civil war, and people would just be fighting all throughout the ship. But since that is what happened in the books, maybe that's why I'm questioning why it didn't happen here. But I don't know. Maybe just me. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the next group of scenes we get with the action actually going on, where they go and they take engineering, which was really easy for them to do, but once they're holding it was more the issue. But once they're there, Naomi realizes that what they're trying to do by destroying the ring and holding, it's just like, that's not just going to kill us, that's going to kill all of humanity. What Ashford is doing is actually way worse. He's going to wipe out all of humanity. And then again, they communicate with Ashford, try to talk him out of it, but again, he's an idiot. He's not listening to any of that. It's funny because from Ashford's perspective, and then again, I do like how he thinks he's in the right, is that from his perspective, what Holden is proposing would just save everyone in the ring and not all of humanity. And I think, and of course, Holden knows that his plan actually is going to be the one to wipe out humanity. And Naomi kind of points this out really quickly, is saying, well, you're the one who's going to fuck everything up. But I actually think they didn't hammer this home enough, especially like to the Martians and to the other people. But then we get Anna starts making her big, plea over the comms, and everyone's going, and they tied it into the communication system so they can't shut it down. And we see some people on the bridge or command center are convinced by Anna and what Holden are saying. And the one guy who speaks up about it, Ashford simply shoots and kills, and then the Martians seem a-okay with it and still willing to support Ashford. I gotta be honest, I did have a slight issue with that. It seemed like really like they had just, it seemed like they should be listening to reason. At the very least, they shouldn't be okay with Asher just killing people who disagree with him. But I don't know. What are your guys'
I felt the exact same way when that Martian commander, like, she was kind of stepping forward. I thought she was going to challenge Ashford. That's what it looked like to me. So I was surprised when she was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go on with the plan. I was like, what? You're just gonna let him just kill this person who disagrees with him, and that's okay with you? Like, are you really a military leader, or are you a wuss? Like, what the hell? Like, I don't know. That kind of shocked me, honestly. Like, I thought they were setting up for her to disagree with him. They flashed the camera to her. She saw the look on her face. She was stepping forward a little bit. I thought she was going to challenge him. I was really baffled when she didn't. It was kind of, I mean, I guess it was for plot convenience, but I think
that was like a deliberate fake out. They want you to think she was going to challenge him, but instead she goes along with it and be like, aha, we faked you. But I don't think it was worth it.
It was a dumb fake out because she should have challenged him. Why would she go along with that? I don't understand. Like, why she would just watched him shoot a guy who disagreed with him, and I don't know.
Well, you know what? Well, here's the thing. I think I have the reason why. The reason is Holden. Remember, at this point, the Martians still hate Holden. You know, every Martian except for Bobby and Alex wants that man dead. And here you have, the infirmed captain going to him, basically now it's not particularly behind everyone's back, but they might look at it as it being behind everyone's back and agreeing with the person that everyone views as kind of public enemy number one. And it's like, okay, we could listen to the guy that everyone thinks is a mass terrorist at this point, or we go with the plan, because remember, they're all about their warmongering as well, right? So it's go with the crazy guy or go with the big bomb. And I like big bombs. I'm gonna go with the big bomb. So I think that's what it was. I don't think it was a thing of, like, I don't even think there was a second thought about it. It's like, oh, James Holden's plan? No, never gonna happen. Blow shit up.
So that is a good point. But it wasn't just Holden; it was also Anna, who, as Monica Stewart mentioned, has a lot of clout. She stopped the war between Earth and Mars, so it seemed like her voice would at least carry some more weight. And what you said about how they, how would they trust this terrorist guy? Well, maybe that's why it would have been a good idea for the Rocinante crew to clear his name first and make it clear that he didn't destroy the Sun Moon, make it clear that Melvin was the one who did it before any of the shit happened. And so maybe people would be more willing to listen to Holden if they'd done that.
Well, remember, that was supposed to be what the reporter was supposed to do. The reporter was supposed to do that and never did.
Well, can't really blame her because Amos was not very nice to her, but yeah.
Understandably so.
I mean, okay, he wasn't nice to her, and you know what? Her blind technician wound up getting killed. Fuck that guy anyway. But it was one of those things where, look, it's not like they didn't attempt to put things in place, because remember, they also weren't even able to receive any transmissions for a while either. They just got the transmissions back like right at the beginning of the episode. So they don't know what they missed, and then by the time they get over there and things are going sideways, it's like, fuck, you didn't do the thing you were supposed to do. And she's all, well, my guy died and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, yeah, but you dumbass, you not telling the people the truth is making things harder for us to save everyone now. So
I disagree with this all being on Monica, because at this stage, when they sent Monica out, they didn't even know about Melba. They had Melba, so they knew about Melba. It was up to them to say, hey, this is the person who destroyed the Sun, instead of, oh, we have a prisoner, lock her up. They should have made a big, that's where I'm getting into it. They should have made a bigger deal of it. But Atkin, I know you had something to say, so go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna change the subject a little bit, if that's all right. I'm gonna go back on something you touched on earlier, which you didn't expand on. We've touched on the Anna video, the plea that she makes. Maybe it's just me, but I would not have been sold by that. I think that we have found the replacement for Sally Struthers. If you remember the Sally Struthers commercials, what about the children? Like, she's so sappy, and like she goes on and on and on. And Monica's like, oh, they're shooting each other. We got to keep talking. And I'm like, is that going to work? Like, I would just be like, shut the fuck up, bitch. Like, I would not, if I were one of those people in there, I would just hear me. Like, I would not buy this. So, and I don't buy the fact that other people bought it, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it just seemed really sappy and not convincing in the tiniest bit to me. But somehow, like, all of a sudden, everybody powers down their engines. I don't know. I had a hard time with it. It didn't convince me. So I don't know why it convinced other people. But maybe that's just my opinion.
Well, here's the thing. I think the reason why it wound up convincing a bunch of people is because she was the one who exposed Aaron Wright earlier. And so it's like, if we can trust anyone is telling us the truth right now, we can trust her. She's the one person who is not trying to actively fuck over humanity right now. And if she is saying, hey, look, we need to not try blowing shit up in order for us to survive, maybe we should try it her way, because doing it the way that we have been doing it got us caught in this crazy gravity well, and it's got a bunch of carnage on all of our ships right now. So, you know what? Let's try her way and see if this possibly works.
Yeah, I will say I didn't get that from Anna's stuff. I actually thought she was convincing, but maybe that's just me. And definitely what Don said about how she does have a lot of clout with taking down Aaron Wright, so people would be more willing to listen to her. But I thought she was convincing. But I mean, I guess I can see your point of view too, that she was a bit like bit too more sentimental and not as much fact based.
I don't know. Whatever. I don't remember the name of that organization that with the children and had Sally Struthers, but I think Elizabeth Mitchell, they found their new spokesperson. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
All right, cool. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to the next batch of scenes that we get, where Bobby is sent by her commander to stop the transmission, and so her and the Marines go off to get their armor, but find out that those thieving belters took it. We found out it's Diagu and his goons took the Martian armor to retake the reactor room, so they just plow right through the guards that Drummer had there, and just had 2 guards, and again, I don't know. But anyway, they plow through them, but apparently they have armor. They weren't shoot at Holden, but it was enough to sort of, they can just throw people around. So they chased Holden, Drummer, and Amy out of the reactor room. Meanwhile, Bobby shows up with her Marines, and they find out it's Alex and Amos. And I love that exchange where they're like, Alex, Bobby, and Amos just like, I don't care if she's your friend. I'm going to kill her if she tries to get in her way. So Alex comes out to sort of calm her down, and she's like, I don't want to hurt you, Alex. It's like, well, actually, I'm here to stop Amos from hurting you. And I think that's a theme like this to the show, and I think the show it's the right way that Amos is, if anyone versus Amos, they're screwed. Amos is pretty much going to kill anyone. And so, and of course, like, her other fellow Marines are a bunch of assholes. And so they try to freaking just kill Alex. I think because they could tell that Bobby was being convinced by them. And I just hate these guys. I was so glad when Amos shot the one guy in the head. And Bobby just suddenly switches because she realized, okay, yeah, these guys are assholes, and so I'm going to switch over to the Restaurante crew, which I really liked. So that was a great thing. And then of course we get Yagu, whatever, chasing Drummer and whatnot, and they throw grenades, and Drummer wants to sacrifice herself to kill them all, but then Amy just magically gets the elevator working and just smushes him. So yeah, I know there's two things, so we can kind of talk about those two things one at a time. But anyway, your thoughts on those scenes, Atkin?
Yeah, as far as Bobby versus the Rosinante, yeah, I agree with all that. I liked all that, and I was happy to see Bobby kick the shit out of that other woman, and for Amos to kill that other guy. Yeah, fuck those guys. I've been wanting to see those guys die for since we've been introduced to them. We'll get about this. This is for a different discussion, but there was a character like that in Westworld where I also got my satisfaction that I wanted to die. Like there's character that you look confused, Mark. We'll talk about it in a different discussion. Anyways, we're talking about The Expanse. Yeah, those guys were like, fuck them. Like I was so happy to see Bobby just finally just like kick her ass, and that other guy get killed. And that scene, I love that whole scene, the whole thing with Amos and Alex and Bobby. Now, as far as the elevator shaft scene, so I have a different take on it. I heard your review and the comparison to the book where Drummer is replacing a different character who did end up killing himself in that scenario, in that same scenario. I had no knowledge of that. I expected Drummer to live. I never thought she was really going to kill herself. There was no surprise to me at all. So, I mean, because I don't have the book as the context. I don't know that she's replacing a character who did kill himself. So I don't know any of that. This is a main character. They're not killing her. The Expanse is not a show, I feel, that really kills a lot of main characters. Earlier on in the first season, they killed characters that they kind of made you think were going to be main characters, but really, on the grand scheme of things, they're not. They were killed in the first or second episode or third episode. They're not really main characters. So by my mind, Expanse doesn't really kill off main characters. They kill off Miller, brought him back in a different form. But I mean, I didn't expect Drummer to die, so I was not surprised. I was more caught up in the fact that I was so happy to see that fucking prick get smushed by an elevator. I was so satisfied with that. I was so happy with that I was not upset about Drummer surviving at all. I expected it, so I was just more focused on the fact that they killed off that kid, which I was so happy about. So I had a just totally different take on it than you did, having read the books.
So what? That was Diago that died. Just want to be clear about it.
Yeah, that was Diago that died.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I was like,
well, I'll just say real quick, some people are thinking since he had Martian armor on, he might have and could have survived it. And I sure as fuck hope.
Yeah, I hope not.
So I kind of got the impression that whoever that was just got squashed like a bug, and deservedly so. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny, the whole, I guess Mexican standoff. I mean, damn it. Yeah, shot Bobby, and I was like, oh, they better not kill Bobby. They killed Bobby. I'm through with the Expanse. Not really, but you know what I mean. And the whole thing with those other two Martian Marines, yeah, those two were assholes. I mean, look, you were standing right there with the whole proto-molecule incident and still somehow blamed Holden and was like, oh, he ripped the captain apart. Like, really? Really? Yeah, because, he didn't have power all this time, and all of a sudden now Holden has the power to rip a person to shreds. I'm like, you know what? And see, this is what I'm saying. The Martians have been depicted as this kind of warmongering faction. So unfortunately, most of the time when you run into people from Mars, they're just grunts. They are mindless grunts, and the only people who have any redeeming qualities happen to be Bobby and Alex. And so that's why I was saying I wasn't surprised about the whole thing with the Martian admiral siding with Ashford, because it's like, oh, did I get to blow something up? Yes, we will go with your plan. Fuck the whole thing about shutting down and trying to resolve this peacefully. Bombs. So, yeah, I'm glad that they killed those two assholes. I'm glad that Diago's dead, and yeah, the fact that Drummer survived. I mean, like, yeah, you gotta have twist here, and there. You can't just go around killing everybody.
I mean, the twist would have been if she died. I don't know. I don't think it's just like, because I do get what you're saying, Atkins, that the Expanse doesn't really kill off any main characters, but is she that main of a character? I mean, she's kind of become a bigger character this season, but they killed off what's his face, Souther and Wynn, and they've been around since the start of the show, or at least Souther has. And Kotiar was a pretty main character, and they killed him off. He was probably maybe almost on par with Drummer, I'd say, and they killed him off. So I didn't see it out of the realm of possibility. But that was interesting that you took it that way. And maybe I was affected by the fact that I read in that scene was just almost the exact same circumstances that the way the book character died. So I was like, holy shit, they're giving her the storyline. And I thought, wow, that's brave of them. That's really ballsy of them to kill off Drummer in this way, but they didn't kill her off. So I'm actually of two minds, because I'm actually happy she's still alive because I like this character so much. But again, it did feel kind of like a football cop-out, like, oh, let's save the day at the Deus Ex Machina. So I liked it and I didn't. So I'm kind of split on that myself. Anyway, any more thoughts on that?
No, I'm all right on that scene.
All right. Cool. Oh, there was someone in the chat earlier. I think I lost it. Oh no, it was Musical Aviator said, "Oh, well, you'll be surprised. It'll be funny when Diago returns in season 5 and season 6." I was like, no, no. Not gonna happen. I so hope he's dead again.
I hope not. I didn't want him to be back in the first place. Like, yeah, I've never liked this character.
To be clear, like, this character in the books was just in book 1, and that's it. He was just in a few scenes where to help Miller blow up arrows, and that's it. We never see him again after that. And I wish there was that way in the show, because his appearances after that, they just turned him into a little shit. It's like, oh, dolls are blah blah blah, and just being this little shit. So I'm just glad that they killed him. And if they bring him back to life, I'll be extremely disappointed. It's like you said, I'm glad he's dead, and I hope he rots in hell. What's that from anyway? It sounds familiar. Is that Samuel L. Jackson? It sounds like it's Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's from a movie called A Time to Kill.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I remember that movie now. But anyway, let's go ahead and move over. Let's just get into these final stretch of scenes. Holden and Naomi have their last-ditch effort to go to the bridge. I'm not sure exactly what their plan. I guess their plan is to talk Astrid out of it. Seems like a dumb plan, but hey, it ends up working out for them after all, because they show up with like one gun, and it seems like this would have been a case where Drummer, if she would, I know she was injured, but if she was able to stay with them, she could have. This could have been the time she went up and be like, "Hey, I'm your captain. Don't listen to him. Put him under arrest." But anyway, might have been too late at this stage anyway. But it was probably a better plan than Holden and Naomi trying to talk sense into Ashford, which of course doesn't work because he's an idiot and he's just like, "Oh, just shoot them. They're surrendering. They have their hands up, but I don't like what they have to say, so just kill them." Again, fuck that guy. But anyway, apparently their words did reach Melba, and she all of a sudden saves the day, knocks Ashford out and saves Holden's life, which is really ironic, and then shuts down the engine, and then everything's saved. Now, I do think that they were trying to build up in this episode by having Melba eavesdropping on Holden's conversation, trying to get the viewer to recognize that she's sort of rethinking her steps about maybe he does have a point about the ring and he knows what he's talking about. And more of her conversation with Ashford, where she was saying, do you think people can redeem themselves right before she died? I think that was really like getting her. She regretted what she did earlier by blowing up the ship and killing the people, and that she wanted to redeem herself. And at first, I think she saw teaming up with Ashford as a way to do it, but by listening to Anna, who I think she's had interactions with before, so Anna was able to convince her that the right thing to do was to actually go with Holden's plan. And I think Holden's last speech, apparently, that was the last straw that really got her to turn and to save the day. I think that's what they were going for. I'm not sure if it's, if they did the best job at it. Again, book reader here, they did a way, way better job at explaining her turn in the books, and they did a lot more to get into why she changed her mind like this. And I've read a lot of opinions of a lot of people who thought that this was a bit unbelievable and a bit rushed. And I actually agree. I think this is part of the character development. I think they needed more time to make this, to sell this a bit more. But anyway, Don, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this might have been better served if maybe they had introduced her earlier in the season, and maybe she had done some of the things. You know what? Or maybe if we got maybe a couple more episodes, because yeah, it was like you were just trying to kill Holden and crew earlier in this same two-parter. And now it's like, oh, man, maybe he isn't such a bad guy. Let me try to redeem myself. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still a fucking mass murderer. So, yeah, listen, man, you already know how I feel about Melba Toast. All right. You're the spawn of Jules Pierre Mao. Yeah, you can ride in hell too. I wish that shot would have been fatal.
Yeah, and I kind of already alluded to this at the beginning of this video. This was really the weak part of the episode for me. I did not buy it at all. I understand where they were trying to show that she was turning, the talk with Anna, the eavesdropping on Holden. I understand what they were going for, but it failed spectacularly. Those little tidbits did not even come close to overcoming, was it 6 episodes of her being a psychopath? And even in this episode, the beginning of this two-parter, a psychopath who is bound and determined to kill Holden no matter what. And this is her, to use a Westworld term, core drive. This is all what she's about. I didn't see anywhere near enough to suddenly switch that. To me, it came, even though I do see what they were trying to go for, it still felt like completely out of nowhere, made no sense. That there's no way that this character turned. And again, I'm getting back to, I wish that they did 1 book per season. We had the whole season 3 to be book 3, and we could have had more time to develop this, and then maybe it would have been believable. But to me, not even the tiniest bit believable that all of a sudden she just turns. No. Just because Anna gave her a little speech, like all of a sudden she's not a psychopath anymore. Bullshit. No, I do not buy it, and I will never buy it. I'm sorry. As I said, I still come away from this episode with positive feelings overall, but this was the shame of the episode, the downside of the episode, by far the worst part of the episode. That this turn made no sense whatsoever, and I did not buy it.
Well, I'm not as harsh on it as that. You say you don't buy it in the least. I buy it in the least. Like, I buy a little bit about it, but I think it was too rushed and they needed more time. I could not agree with you more that book 3 should have been an entire season, and especially this 2 episode. It felt, and I said this before, it felt kind of like one of those movies that try to adapt a big book. It's just too much and it feels rushed. That's what it felt like to me. Like there's too much material here to fit into, and I think with the Melba thing is where it shows the most. That because I think that really could have worked had they spent more time it like they did in the books, which involved a character who was in the show ever so briefly, that priest guy. Named Cortez. In the books, he was there for this. He was actually a main character for this storyline, and he had a lot of interactions with Melba, and you could get through their interactions what her motivations was and why she was changing her mind. Here with her and Ashford, like that one little sentence they had together, that was nice, but I don't think it's enough. Like they need more. But that being said, like I do kind of think it works a little bit, but I just think not enough. But anyway, cool. I guess we talked about that one enough. Yeah. So then everything after Melba shuts down the ships, then the ring gates open up, and we have all these different sort of areas into space. Apparently, it's like all these different takes you instantly to another solar system. And there's like 1,300 of them, and I love the scene, the way the reveal and how all of it, and boy, Ashford must have been feeling like a fucking idiot at this point. I still think he should have died. I wish Melba would have snapped his neck instead of just knocked him out, but that's just me. I don't know. Anyway, we get the following montage where we see like they explain, Holden is apparently talking to Miller, and he explains this, and Holden pretty much says this was your plan all along. You didn't really care about helping humanity. You just wanted us to open these gates so you can go out and find out what happened to the proto-molecule creators, which that was a nice touch too, and I think he is pretty much right. And it ends with Miller saying, well, I'm gonna need a ride, and then it shows the Rocinante going through the gate. You get a brief scene. Again, we talked a bit about the whole thing with Drummer and Ashford bringing him whiskey. That was dumb. But we also see Anna comforting Melba. I actually like that. And Melba cries, so it's showing that I'm sure you guys will like that less, but there's also we also see Bobby on the Rocinante, which is interesting. Now I heard like someone posted a comment saying that maybe like the producers might have indicated that she's not a part of the Rocinante crew now, but that final scene makes me think that she is. And I would think that she would be after having, betrayed the Martians like that. I don't think they'd want her around, and she should leave those idiots behind anyway. So I got the impression she was the Rocinante crew. But anyway, so it leaves us, and Holden talks about how there's going to be a new bloody gold rush, and we get an ever so brief glimpse of Avasarala. At least we get to see her anyway, and that seems to indicate that that there's going to be a huge move from humanity to colonize these worlds that they can now, other parts of the galaxy they can go to instantly through this Stargate. Excuse me. Anyway, what were some of your thoughts on this, Atkin?
Yay, we got 2 seconds of Avasarala, my favorite character on the whole show. Let's just throw her in there for 2 seconds. I really hope they find, I don't know what her role is in book 4, but I really hope they find a way to get her, work her in a lot more. I've missed her. Yeah, other than that, I enjoyed this whole sequence. I'm glad that they spelled it out for me, because I wouldn't have understood it otherwise. I wouldn't have known what was happening if Holden didn't spell it out. And so I am still a little unclear. Are we supposed to be unclear at this point on what exactly this Miller incarnation is? I mean, he's called the Investigator. We know he's not really Miller. I assumed he was somehow hooked up with the proto. I don't really understand what he is. Am I supposed to understand what he is at this point, or
no?
Am I supposed to
at this point in the story, the show has actually gone into more detail about him than the books have. So the books are even more vague about him at this point in the story.
Okay, so I'm not missing anything. I'm supposed to not really fully grasp who or what he is.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. But anyways, yeah, I really love this whole sequence at the end. And I also got the impression that Bobby is on the Rocinante crew. So, and I would be disappointed if she wasn't. She should be. Enough with this Martian crap. like with all these asshole Martians who don't listen to her, even though she's the only smart one, and they just are all dumb and just want to kill people. Like, enough with that shit. Like, I want her to be with the Rosinante crew. So I hope that's where they go with it.
Yeah, we need more Bobby. More Bobby. Put on the crew. Make it part of the main cast. You know, I don't know why Melba Toast is still alive. She needs to die. Miller. Yeah, I'm confused. Is Miller proto-molecule or something else? And also, why... I don't understand. Why is it that he needed Holden in order to be able to open the gate? Is it because he needed him to complete the circuit? I mean, was that the deal?
Yeah, complete the circuit, and he needed all the ships to look defenseless so that they would deactivate the station's defenses. Because when the humans entered, the defenses were up, so he needed the circuit activated, and then he needed their defenses deactivated.
So, I mean, all right, because, all right, so here's the thing, right? So, Miller, all right, is Miller supposedly a piece of the proto-molecule, or is he, like, something from the species that created the proto-molecule, just trying to figure out what happened, and that's about it? Because because that's the one thing that I'm lost on, because
it's a bit hard to explain. And this isn't really explored until book 4 anyway, and we haven't got to that material yet. So, okay. Even after that, it's a bit hard to explain. But I think it's more of like when the proto-molecule, kind of like similar to what happened with Julie, because when the proto-molecule was sort of just aimless doing shit, but when it assimilated her, she became like the brain. And so she wanted to go, Eros was going to Earth because she wanted to go home. It's kind of similar, but more of like, more intelligent, like, so it's using Miller's intelligence, so there's this aspect of it that's more sort of intelligent, where the rest of it's kind of automated, if that makes any sense. Like the station and its reactions, that was all automated responses, where Miller is like an aspect of it that's in thinking intelligently.
Okay, I mean, I don't know, I'll try to rewatch and see if maybe I can grasp what it all means, because it you know, again, I'm still wondering, like, why. So, but the station has defenses on its own, right? The station, I guess, can't do any thinking for itself. Then, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's more of an automated. It's acting on reaction. Yeah, it's not really thinking for itself. It's just automated.
Okay, and that's why it couldn't open all of the gates, the stargates, because that's not what it was programmed to.
Yeah, because Miller had to do that, but he had to activate the circuit and deactivate the defenses first before he could.
Okay, I got it now. Yeah, because that was the thing that kind of got me, was like, well, why do they need Holden for this? Like, why couldn't the proto-molecule do that? But all right.
Musical Aviator might explain this better than me. He says the gate is a computerized transport system. Miller is a program that the system designed. The computer isn't capable of manipulating its own switches. It needs a physical being present for that.
Thank you for the explanation.
Cool. So yeah. So any other further thoughts? Like, what did you guys think of this whole Stargate thing? I mean, were you kind of expecting that because of the name Abaddon's Gate, or sort of implies gates, or because Darren, I know he's not here tonight, but he kept mentioning how the ring looks like a Stargate. So is this something that seemed kind of natural, or did it come as a bit of a surprise that all these systems to other solar systems around the galaxy opened up?
That's not something that I thought of. And I guess I didn't really pay attention to what the names of these episodes were, so I didn't even know it was Abaddon's Gate or whatever. So no, it never really did cross my mind, to be honest with you, that that's what it was.
I kind of expected there to be the Stargate thing only because of the visions from a couple episodes ago. Once he actually put his hand through the circuit and got the vision of all of those different places, like in the portals and all that. So yeah, that's kind of what I expected to a certain extent. Was that it was going to open up? I just I didn't understand fully the how or why, but yeah, I was kind of expecting it.
Now, Flobo23 asks an interesting question that I would pose to you, Akton and Don. Was it satisfying? Was the ending, the revelation of the gates, was that satisfying? Do you think that was good storytelling?
Yeah, I thought it was. It all made sense. In retrospect, maybe I should have seen it coming. So yeah, it was very satisfying. Again, the only problem I had was the Melba thing. So other than that, like, I did find this episode very satisfying, and I would say it was the Stargate thing, and that leaves me very interested in where we're going next. Holden seems to be foreshadowing a little bit with his whole blood gold rush thing that he said. So we can get kind of a vague idea of where we're headed next. But now I end this episode wanting to see what happens in season 4, and that means the episode did its job. That's what you should be feeling at the end of the episode is, oh, I really want to see what happens next. And if I didn't feel that way, the episode would have been ineffective as a finale. But since I do feel that way, then it was effective. And yeah, so I am satisfied.
Yeah, how much would it have sucked if this was the series finale and it wasn't before? I would have been pissed off.
Yeah.
Was it satisfying for you?
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I mean, was I blown away? No, I wasn't blown away by it, but I mean, I think it was still a great season finale. It sets up things for the next season. It answers questions from this season that we needed answered. And again, shout out to the actors, the actor who plays James Holden. Shout out to his workout routine. I really need to get back in the gym. Yeah, and it was kind of interesting, at the end where Miller is saying that he needs to hitch a ride, and it looked like he kind of partially inhabited Holden to a certain extent. So that's going to be interesting to see with Miller kind of in his head, and people are probably still going to think that Holden is crazy because no one else is going to see Miller. It's going to be, will you shut up for a minute so I can tell them what we're doing? Miller, stop it. So that's going to be interesting to see for next season. And then also, what alien races are they going to run into? Because I don't think you get 1,300 Stargates and they don't run into anybody. And especially because, Proto Miller was saying he wants to find out who it is that killed the people that created the proto molecule. So that's going to be interesting as well to see, is humanity going to be able to create new alliances, and what other issues are they going to run into when they decide, okay, let's pick a destination and see what we find on the other side. So yeah, like I said, like Akton said, it definitely gets me pumped for the next season.
And one thing I thought when I read the books in this part of the books is that, to me, this completely changes the nature of the story, where it's no longer in this thing about not so much about the Belters and the Earthers and Mars fighting over the solar system. Now it opens it up to is a lot more fantastical, I should say, where you can instantly travel to all these different star systems. Are we feeling okay about this? Do you think this is a good shift to a totally different type of story?
I absolutely wanted this to happen eventually. I didn't want the story always to just be about the squabbles between these three factions in the solar system and not move beyond that. And I always felt that we would move beyond that because it was always hinted that the protomolecule was alien in nature. So I saw it as a really slow setup for eventually we're going to get to something beyond. So, I didn't necessarily think Stargates, but I knew in some way, somehow we were eventually going to. And if we didn't, I would be disappointed. Like, so not only am I okay with this, like I would have not be okay if they didn't go this direction. So I'm very pleased that we're starting to kind of get some movement away from this conflict between these three factions because I'm kind of over it, honestly. Like, we need to move on.
I mean, hey, the show is called The Expanse. I don't think you can have something called The Expanse, and the only thing they do is stay in the inner belt for for our particular solar system. So, yeah, let's see where it goes. I'm hoping to see other solar systems, other galaxies. See what else is out there and how we as humanity will deal with it. Hopefully not as foolishly as we almost dealt with it in this episode and almost wind up getting all of humanity wiped out. But, somebody's going to be a dumbass. But real quick, I do want to go back to the thing that we talked about earlier, which was Drummer and Astrid, the little scene of her giving him the alcohol or whatever, and just like, have you learned nothing from this day, Captain Drummer? The dude tried to take over your ship. He tried to kill you. He did kill one of your officers just for disagreeing with him. And now you're sitting there trying to celebrate with him. That man needs to be thrown in the brig and be assured that he will be tried, court-martialed, and probably executed for treason. Not celebrated with. So
I think he should have died. I think the show just likes to act it too much. Oh, he's a really high-profile actor. It's like, no, we got him. Let's keep him. I don't know.
Let's just see what happens next season. Who knows? Maybe he'll go the way of Aaron Wright, and it'll just be something that'll be shown in like not a flashback, but a one-off sentence. Yeah, After I gave him the celebratory glass of thum in the brig, he's on his way to be executed right now.
In which case, they may as well just kill him if they were going to do that.
Yeah.
They may as well just kill him here. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else,
a quick question for
ahead,
you, Mark.
Akton.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if this would be considered a spoiler to some people who haven't read the books like me, but I'm curious. You have mentioned before are we expecting probably another time jump?
Okay, so I will answer this, but I'll give a spoiler warning for anyone who's watching. If you want to skip ahead, or if you're watching it live, just mute the chat for a while because I am going to answer this. Okay, so spoilers now. Okay, so in the books, at least, there's like at least a 3 or 4 year gap between the end of this scene where we end and the start of the next. So this is the end of book 3, the start of book 4. I know some book readers might correct me, might get the time, but it's pretty much several years. And I won't get too much into why, but there needs to be that gap. You can't do the story of book 4 without having that big of a gap.
So you don't think that there's a way the show could shorten the gap? So maybe it's only a couple years, but there definitely needs to be some kind of gap.
Then that I don't see how they could do the story the same way. It's going to completely change the nature of book 4. I mean, I suppose they could, but yeah.
Okay, end of spoilers.
Yeah, but anyway, I think we'll place to end unless you guys had anything else you wanted to bring up. Wrap up. Nah, we're all good. Cool. So yeah, thank you guys so much for Colonel Doomsday, Flubber 23, Iron Throne, Dina, Musical Aviator. Thank you guys so much for watching. Anyone watching in the archives as well, thank you so much for sticking towards this long and sticking with all our discussion videos all season long. And it's not over yet, because next week we will be back and we'll be joined by Darren as well, where we're going to go over the entire season as a whole. So speaking of the season more in broad terms, so that's going to be probably around the same time, same day next week, if schedules permit. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And just a quick shout out where people can find you, what you're up to on your channel. I will start with you, Don.
Yeah, you can find me on Abaddon, Advice and Fire. I'm actually going to finally be working on a video for that one this weekend. And also you can find me at my other channel, Don Entertainment, where I will be working on my top 5 questions for the end of Westworld season 2. Because after that episode, the last episode, I do have some pertinent questions, and I'm pretty sure the rest of you do too. So again, thank you, Mark, for having me on. Can't wait till next week, and thank you to everybody who's checking this out tonight or will check us out in the archives.
All right, and I'm Akton Tamko. A lot of you may know me if you're familiar with Mark's channel. I'm Mark's brother. I have been working on Westworld reviews, and I'll go ahead and make a little bit of an announcement. And in addition to the next Friday, when we're going to do the Expanse discussion with me, Mark, Don, and Darren, this Monday, July 2nd, on my channel, hopefully the same 4 of us, if we can get us all together, we'll be doing a discussion on Westworld Season 2. So maybe we'll talk about maybe we'll address a little bit of those questions that Don has a little bit, and so much to talk about for that season. So we don't have a time nailed down yet. We got to get Darren in the loop and see when he's available. But as soon as we have a time nailed down, we will, of course, let you know. I know I will on my channel. Mark may also on his channel. But we'll definitely, so keep an ear out for that. But it will be, at least in terms of the United States time, Monday, July 2nd. And for those of you in Australia, New Zealand, and all those places, it might be the next day. But we'll let you know as soon as we have a time nailed down for that. But that is coming. That's going to be on my channel. And then, of course, we'll be back next Friday, as Mark said, for the Expanse Season 3 discussion on this channel. So that's where you'll be seeing me for the next couple weeks. And meanwhile, check out all of my previous reviews if you haven't already. And I did all of Westworld this season. I did all of Game of Thrones last season. And I've done plenty on Star Trek, so check all that out. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mark.
Cool, as always. So if you're finding my channel for the first time, I'm Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. I have several more Expanse videos planned, a season 3 wrap up. In addition to the discussion video, I'll be doing my overall season 3 review, and also hopefully some early non-book spoiler prediction, which is going to be a bit hard. Actually, I might make a book spoiler. It depends. It depends on if I have much to say without getting into spoilers. But yeah, that's going to be coming out. And now with the Expanse, and I've also finished my series of reviews for the Star Trek movies. You can check that out. I just put up my ranking of all 13 of them. Now with that, the other stuff like random Star Trek episode reviews, continuing on with book to show comparisons where I cover each episode and compare it to the book. Those don't contain book spoilers. So if you haven't read the books, you can still watch them unless you're planning on reading the books, and it might ruin what the difference is between book and shows. I'm still in season 2 on those, but I'll get back to those, still covering season 2. Also, finally going to be getting back to some Game of Thrones videos. I'll do some more character analysis, and also going to make a fun little video. If I was writing season 7, how would I write it? So I'm going to do that, and how I thought season 7 should have went down. So you can keep an eye out for that. And in August, Better Call Saul season 4 comes back, so I will be covering that weekly. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and we will see you next time.